Hi, this is Steve Ehrman, Director of the Flashlight Program, and I'd like to show you a simple way to create a small matrix survey. Now later on we'll show you how to do this by uploading information about a large number of respondent pools, but I'm going to talk now about doing a small matrix survey with 5 or 10 respondent pools, something that it's just as easy to create by hand, working one respondent pool at a time. The basic idea, as you probably know, is that different groups of respondents get different subsets of questions. Now the example we're going to be looking at is one that has to do with student response systems. There are lots of kinds, clickers, maybe the most common kind, but it's also possible to poll people whether they're in the same room or separate from one another using cell phones. Many online conferencing systems have polling systems. Um, and sometimes in classes the devices have different kinds of trade names and brand names. We've treated in another tutorial how to embed the name of, for example, the different student response systems in the text of the survey. You can see that here. What we're going to talk about now is pedagogical differences, things that are different enough that you actually want to ask somewhat different sets of questions to different groups of students while all having it be one big survey. There are some questions that are going to be asked no matter what the class is doing with the student response systems. And we call those the core questions. Each one of these groups of questions that always appear together is called a question group. And I'm going to scroll slowly down. You'll see here's the first question group. It's where the text turns blue. It says question group here. Question groups can be divided into pages. Pages each have one or more questions. Questions can have one or more elements. But we're going to look at the question groups. So there's one long question group here. Now we're onto its second page. See up here? And this is the first question on the second page. Keep scrolling down. Here's the third page of questions in this group. So all the respondent pools, no matter what their characteristics, they're all going to get this first 3, and now it's 4 pages of questions in the first question group. But here's a new question group. And notice here there's a little bit of metadata. See right here where it says activity? The way that I've divided the different question groups is pretty simple. There are different activities that may or may not be present in each class. This one happens to be peer instruction, so I decided to abbreviate it as PI. So this question group is only going to appear in classes where, thanks to an earlier survey we will have done of the faculty members, we know that peer instruction is going on. That's the practice, by the way, of asking students a question, having them respond with their clickers, showing them the responses, the pattern of response, how many people in the class picked A, B, C, and so on. Then asking them to pair up and talk about what they think the response ought to be. That's the peer instruction, as they talk with each other about their reasoning about the answers. Then you ask this question of the students again. They respond individually. But that's the pedagogy that embeds peer instruction. We'll keep going down. We've got just one page of questions, as it happens in that group, with one question in it. A question group can have just one question. Here's an activity that I've called accountability. Sometimes student response systems are used for assessment purposes, and sometimes even just grading. So we've got some questions about that subject. We keep on scrolling down. Here we have come to another question group, and looks like we haven't finished adding the metadata for this one, but there's a little comment that says that it's classes where students buy a handheld console that they can use in many different classes. So let's edit this question group. And we'll put the key as activity. Just fill that in automatically, because that's the key that we've been using. And the value we're going to put in here is purchase. I just made that up on the spot. We click plus to add it, and now it's been registered for this. And we have to also remember to click save. And we'll go back and have to scroll down again. Sorry if this makes you a little dizzy. There we go. Activity is purchase. And we've got 2 questions on this page. And here's another one with no metadata, which means it's going to appear in every respondent pool. So that's the first step. I'm scrolling back up to the top, zooming up there, follow the breadcrumbs back here to the name of our survey so we can get back to our little survey manager. Now we go to respondents. We've got just one test group right now. Let's create a new one. And this is going to be French class Thursday morning. And we'll create it. Now we go back to its name and double click it so we can add some information. Click where we say metadata. The key is activity. And let's do purchase. Add that. And apply. Go back up to properties, because we're now going to check to see how this worked. Scroll down a little bit. Let's look at preview. If this has worked correctly, we're going to see all those core questions, the one at the beginning and end, that go to all sections. And in the middle, we'll see just the questions about purchasing, the purchased student response systems. But we won't see the ones about peer instruction, and we won't see the ones about accountability because we didn't ask for them in our definition of this particular respondent pool. So keep in mind, again, these are the questions that are only going to be seen in that French class where there was no peer instruction, there weren't any uses of the system for accountability, but these were clickers that the students purchased, so we had some questions about that. Then we click on Begin. Here we get to some of those general purpose questions. Second page of them. Third page of the general questions. Fourth page. They're not used. This really wasn't finished yet. They are not worth what we have to pay for them. This is the page that has to do with clickers that were purchased. Here's that final one that's a general purpose questions. So it works. That's the way you do it. Later on, we'll create a tutorial about how to upload information so you can create a spreadsheet with the name of the response pool, all the different bits of metadata which are going to drive the creation, the inclusion of certain groups of questions, and the inclusion of, or the substitution of words. Remember, we didn't show you in this tutorial, but there are certain words in here that were driven by metadata about the pool. I'm Steve Ehrman. If you have any questions about Flashlight Online or this tutorial, please get in touch. My email is ehrmann, E-H-R-M-A-N-N, @tltgroup.org.